studying at 5, not set like that, but a balance. Once you're at college for a while, you get to feel, and you get these pangs of guilt. Oh, I should be studying right now, and then you go study. So that's basically it. But it's a trial and error, and it's going to be different for everybody.
Right. Any other hints?
I think the best advice I can give was don't get behind in your classes. A lot of people tend to study 6 hours a day for one subject, excuse me, and not study for another one. I think the best thing to do is to study moderately for all your subjects over a period of time. That way you're getting all of it at the same time. Like you said, you don't get burned out right away, and a lot of students tend to do that.
Right. Don't cram and do it on a regular basis.
If you have a test on Monday, don't study all day Sunday. Study a little bit on Friday, a little bit on Sunday.
It's important to know that you're not going to realize that so quick. A lot of kids get to college and they'll study one way for the first semester and they'll think they're doing okay, which is exactly what I did. I studied and my second semester went smoothly. And I think it wasn't until this semester, my third semester at college, that I finally perfected the way I should study. I'm in class for about 5 hours a day, and then I go to lunch and then I study for 2 more hours, and I take a break at the gym for a few hours and then come back and study wherever. That usually works for me. You need to break it up, I think, usually. Don't overload, because then you'll burn yourself out really fast.
And one of the things that Michael said that I think is important, there are times when I think students sit down and they have the book in front of them and they spend an hour and they think, well, they've studied. But if you really aren't internalizing what is in that book, then you just spent an hour in front of the book. But you really haven't, got a trial and error basis out on, what am I learning here? Maybe I need to write some things down and check myself, etc., make sure I understand the vocabulary. You have to check your own self to be sure that you're getting, that hour's worth.
Because mom and dad aren't there anymore to pat you on the back and say, come on, Tara, you have to study.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I would say, knowing the three of you, that you had a lot of support at home, and mother and dad aren't there. So as a result, I am sure, even though you would say, well, I think I can do it on myself, I'm sure there was a time when you were saying, oh boy, mother and dad, are not here right now.
There are still days. I think I've adjusted extremely well to life in Colorado, but there are still days when I have 5 projects due the next day, and it just gets overwhelming. It's like, Mom, help me, just make me relax and think about what I have to do.
Right.
It's a lot different. It's something you adjust to, and depending on the circumstances, you adjust to as fast as you can. But I still call home and say, Mom, I need your help. Just make me relax and think about what I have to do here. Right. Dad, I need your help. How do I do this?
So a call at home does help.
Does help.
Right.
Does help.
Right.
I found that, of course, I'm still early at school, but I found that I was still hearing some of my parents in the back of my head sometimes. I said I felt guilty before. Well, I can hear my dad when he'd say, well, maybe you should be studying or whatever. But what I finally decided on this semester was, my theme really was quality studying, not quantity. And I have a lot of friends at school that really didn't sleep during finals and stuff like that, and they felt that pulling all-nighters was their way. Well, fine, but I had to sleep, and it was just, if I'm staring at the biology book and I have exam tomorrow or whatever, and I'm saying I'm not absorbing any of this, then I made a conscious decision that it'd do me more good to go to sleep than to sit there and burn myself out staring at stuff that I'm not going to understand. Right. And what Keith said about not cramming before an exam is totally true. If you don't know it the night before the exam, you're not going to learn it. You can't teach yourself as much material as they want you to know on the exam. And another thing that I thought of when you talked about kids wondering how they did that bad on the test or whatever. In college, it's cut and dry. If you fail it, you fail it. And there really isn't any time where you don't know. That's one difference that I found about high school. I'd leave tests in high school saying, well, it depends on the mood the teacher's in or whatever. Not in college.
Right.
Right away.
Very objective.
Yeah.
Right. How about extracurricular activities? I'm sure there are things that you can get involved, intramurals, etc. What are some of the things that are going on at BC or Providence or the Academy?
Right now, I'm not doing anything. I started out this year. I started to join the crew team, but I found that the crew team is real intense. Believe it or not, people view it as a non-varsity sport, but it was really intense for me, and I started getting back papers that were less than satisfactory towards me, and I decided that you have to kind of give up some things to get better grades, so I decided to drop crew for the rest of the semester to get my grades up, and I'm thinking about joining up again, or joining another sport. But right now I'm running a little bit. I'm lifting weights, trying to keep in shape because I know a lot of kids, you hear about the freshman 15, and that's true because I came home during Thanksgiving and I seriously put on 15 pounds. It's tough because you sit around, you eat, and you're studying, you eat, and you're studying,
Right.
It's tough.
How about down in Providence, Mike?
I've joined a few things, but I tried to keep it to a minimum my first semester, and because I wanted to establish a pretty good GPA, and then I could relax a little. I joined the Young Democrats right away with the election and everything. That was a pretty, getting a lot of smiles.
You probably figured that you had a major input in Clinton getting elected.
I did. I talked to him a few times.
Only in Providence.
Right.
And then I played a little intramural wiffle ball, which was fun, just a kind of tension breaker type thing. Once a week we go down and play, and that was relaxing. And I was an alternate on a intramural basketball team. But in the spring, I hope to get involved in more softball and a few more clubs and activities.
Very good. Tara, you were very active in sports at Fitchburg High School. How about out of the academy?
Last year I played basketball and softball. This year I've given up basketball, hung up my shoes for now. But I'm still going to play softball as far as I know during this upcoming season, which starts January 14th. So it starts pretty quick. But what's occupying my time right now is I joined the triathlon team. And so we're working really hard to get ready for our next race down in New Mexico in February.
That sounds very taxing.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
The thing I've noticed about extracurricular activities in college is they really are a stress breaker. Because I remember during finals, we had my floor, which is an all-boys floor. We had midnight football, and every night at midnight we'd just drop our books and we'd go outside, and the whole floor would play tackle football on the lawn. It'd be snowy and everything. It was great. And for me, that was a real tension breaker because I'd be so stressed out about my final the next day. And just to go out there and have fun, it really helped a lot. And I think a lot of, like you said about wiffle ball, I'm sure it was the same way. Your mind kind of gets off of studies for a while, and that's good.
Yeah, you need that break. Mr. Hurd, as I'm asking all of the questions here, are there any questions?
You're doing a great job, Dr. Fallon.
Any questions that you have?
Obviously, all three of these individuals are and were model school citizens at Fitchburg High School. It might be interesting for them to talk about perhaps their own character. They were a success at Fitchburg High School. Obviously, they're well on the road to being a success at their respective colleges. Perhaps you could talk about what it is about yourself, your inner self, that's going to help you succeed. You succeeded already at Fitchburg High School. You're obviously going to be a success through your college years and, in my opinion, most likely throughout the rest of your life. What is it about each one of you that helps you to be a success or to get beyond that? In Fitchburg, you were all sort of a big fish in a small pond. Now you're at, especially you, Tara, big school, okay, kind of a small town girl. What is it about you that's going to help you succeed?
I think throughout high school I developed really good study habits, and that certainly carried me through the academic part of the academy. But as far as the rest of it, I think what's helped me the most is just be determined. If someone puts a goal in front of me and says, or an obstacle in front of me and says, you can't get over it, you'll be darned if I don't get over it. So I like to set a goal for myself and try and reach it. And sometimes that's, I'd like to make sure I get this paper done tonight, or it's, well, this is what I want to do in the future. I have both short-term and long-term goals that I'd like to reach, and I think in that you have to be flexible because there are always going to be obstacles that are going to sway you a little bit until you can get back on track. Like, I'd still love to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Right now, my plans are taking me elsewhere, but that doesn't mean I can't get there. My major is in that spot right now, but there's still pilot training if I can get there. There's still, other means that will help me reach that goal. So it's still there. It's just whether or not I'm going to reach it at the same time frame that I expected to.
The whole concept of goals is very important. Is that something that you picked up Fitchburg High School, your parents, or has the academy really sort of drilled that into you?
No, it was definitely not the academy. It was definitely, I had my first real goal of becoming an astronaut was in 7th grade. So everything I did was to work towards that. It wasn't, when I put that aside, that helped me get oriented to everything else I want to do. So mom and dad saying, hey, you can do this, a lot of support from home, that was certainly the big point. And just being in an atmosphere like at Fitchburg High where they don't hold you back and you can go off and try, because most people said, hey Tara, what do you want to do? I want to go to the United States Air Force Academy. And they're like, oh sure, wait for Fitchburg State or wait for another school. And And I was like, okay, those are fine schools, but no, this is where I'm going to go. And I got some head turnings when I finally got in, but I think I'm showing that I deserve to belong there.
You certainly are. Michael, I've always been impressed by your self-confidence, but I was somewhat surprised to hear you talking about expecting the worst. Was that sort of, that was a defense mechanism for you, or did you know, usually a very confident individual? Was it the aspect of the unknown that made you go to college that way, and was it successful for you?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest reason behind why I had that apprehension is because I did so well at Fitchburg High, and I loved the school so much, and it really killed me to leave. I knew I was ready for a change, but it was just, I was leaving so much of the safe stuff behind. But I think what I was thinking of when she was talking is that I deal in reality a lot. I tend to be a realist, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But in college, it's helped me keep a lot of things in perspective. And I deal in like wellness for myself and keeping my health, both mind and body. And you know, my priorities are somewhat set already. An exam is a big deal, but there are a lot of things more important in this life than that chemistry exam. And if I go in with that mindset, you end up being relaxed for the exam, and that's a short-term thing. But then in the long run, you do better on the exams, and that helps out.
That's great. Keith, as the General Excellence recipient, I guess people would not expect you to have any trepidation about going to school, but knowing you, I'm sure you had some concerns, but you're also a very strong character. What is it about you that helps you get beyond that? What is usually a tough first semester in college?
Well, like you said, Mr. Hurd, coming from a school where you knew everybody and everything was pretty much handed to you, I mean, you had to work hard, but people knew that you were a good student. People knew that you were trying. And going to such a big school where all of a sudden you were more of a number, and you didn't know your teachers, and you didn't, I mean, they gave you a faculty advisor the first day, and I walked into his office, and he didn't know who I was, and he could have cared less, you know? And it's just really hard being that kind of student going to a really big school, and that was the biggest thing for me, being on. So right now, I'm trying really hard to get to know people, and I'm learning who my teachers are, I'm learning who my advisors are. I even got to meet with the dean of students. I went into her office personally. That's the thing I'm working to. And she was talking about long-term goals. I personally right now I'm looking for short-term goals, because for me to look forward, because I don't know what I'm going to be doing 5 years from now.
That's very normal.
Yeah. And especially in college, because you don't know, you can change your mind so many times.
That's right.
And I think it's great that they have their minds set. But right now, I'm just looking for the next day. I want to get good grades now, so that later on maybe I can do something with that.
You talk about identity, and I think that's certainly something that we as human beings find very important. How have you, or how will you establish an identity for yourself at your respective colleges? Certainly your identity from Fitchburg High School is very clear and very positive. How will each of you establish an identity at respective universities? Or does it, maybe it doesn't matter to you?
The only thing that matters is what you want. You know, if you want to be well known on the campus, and you can be well known on the campus, you can make it happen. The most important thing is to have confidence in yourself. If you don't have confidence in yourself, then why should anybody else? So no matter what step you want to take, you got to make sure you know yourself well enough that you can conduct yourself in any kind of manner. I think that's the most important thing to do that.
I think in order to establish an identity, you have to first maybe make a statement of what you're going to do, but then you have to back it up. And actions are the biggest things for me. You have to show. You have to move and do some stuff and show and establish yourself that way. And it's tough. Identity-wise, for me, the toughest thing was, and without sounding conceited, coming from Fitchburg High, I was, I top 10 in my class and everything like that, and that was great. And so that tends to build you up. And then you get to college, and it's the realization that the majority of the kids around you graduated in the top 10 of their class.
Right, yeah.
So now you're like maybe first among equals type thing
Right,
at best,
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing. So you have to, now academics isn't as big a deal as it was to me in high school. I'm working on myself as a person and, helping others, interacting with others, stuff like that. So the whole college experience has helped that way for me.
Super. Keith?
I have to agree with Michael. It was a shot for me to realize that everyone else was just as smart as me, and everyone else tried just as hard as me to get to the school. Right now, I'm just trying to go out and meet people, And I think what she said about confidence is great, because if you don't have confidence, you're going to sit in your room, and you're not going to try to meet people.
Yeah.
But it's great when you can walk out on the campus and just say hi to everybody, and hi, how you doing, And again, you'll see them again. It'll be great, because you know, I met you before, didn't I? And
Yeah.
that's how you meet
Yeah.
friends right away, and that's the best thing.
I think one of the strongest realizations is that sometimes you tend to feel like you're alone, like it's only you that feels this way, but
No.
everybody else feels the same way, so you might as well just, you know, be outgoing and, you know, shoot for it.
I think that's, those are very good answers. You're talking about persistence, you're talking about tenacity, you're talking about confidence, but you also said something that I think is important that other students realize, is that you can be a little scared. In other words, you can have, you know you're going to do well, you're going to make yourself do well, but I think that sometimes students who aren't doing well think, well, they're sure of themselves, and they're not nervous about anything. Anybody that thinks that other successful people are not nervous and are not scared, they're not telling the truth, because you always get those butterflies. But what you do is, if you really want to be successful, is you face that nervousness. You say, I'm going to do that. I had a doctor one time that told me when he was going through medical school, and he would get the book, and he would look at the book, and he would say, oh my God, I got to learn that book. And you know what his philosophy was? He said, if the author was smart enough to write that book, I'm smart enough to learn that book. And that's what he used to say, as he would get himself psyched up to learn that book. And I used to try it sometimes when I would look at that book and say, what is this? And that's another thing. You'll go to a subject and you will get a subject that isn't easy for you, and the first time you read it, you have no idea what it says. So you have to read it again and again, and finally it does come around. But again, it's that persistence, that tenacity, that being sure of yourself, but also recognizing that you have the same nervous qualities that anybody else has when you go into something new. And I think you expressed that very well. You know, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I know that when you left school in May, you were aware that we were facing some problems as far as Fitchburg High School is concerned, as far as being placed on probation because of our accreditation not being as it should be in regard to our science labs and also the Library Media Center. That was something that was unfortunate. We're facing that. But I bring it up because I think there's sometimes a fear from some parents or students that Fitchburg High School can't be all it should be for students as they go in. And I would just, we haven't even spoken about this, but here on camera I'm putting you on the spot. Do you feel that probation at that time, not that if it continued it might affect Fitchburg High School, but do you feel that for that short period of time that you were involved at Fitchburg High School that it affected you at all as you went into school, to college?
I didn't find it at all. In fact, I had done a show a couple years back about subject pertaining to that. And the way I feel is that the individual at the school is going to make what they want from the school. And we've got more than adequate teachers. I mean, some of these teachers you couldn't replace them in the whole wide world. And that's what really makes the school. We have a student body that's incredible. You can't get you could never have so many different people represented in that school until you go out into the real world. And I think it's just great. I mean, being from Fitchburg High School, it didn't matter, about what courses or anything that I took. It was the people there that made the experience for me and made me want to learn and made me want to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I found that I was as prepared, if not more, than a lot of kids in two particular areas, in my writing skills and in my science. And that may sound funny, but like my chemistry class in particular, I had done more in the line of labs at Fitchburg High than a lot of kids that had come from schools with the best facilities in their respective states. And I would get the lab report and I'd say, hey, I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
I did this in Mr. Shadeen's chemistry class. And that is a big edge, because kids were very confused about some of the problems and everything, and I was familiar with it, so I could work through it.
That's good to hear. Keith?
I felt that although I didn't receive all the things that a lot of these students that I'm going to school with now did receive, I think Fitchburg High School prepared me more for real life than a lot of kids were prepared for. I mean, I went into the school interacting with different people from other races, and a lot of kids never saw this before, and a lot of kids never knew how to interact with these people, and I did, and that made me feel good that I knew how to interact with many different people and many types of people.
Very good. We're going to continue this discussion. The program that you're watching is the subject is education. We have students from Fitchburg High School who have gone on to college, And we'll be back right after a public service announcement.
Very good.
Very good.